Hi guys, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk about a very important life skill. Some might say that this is a career skill. I really think it's more than that. This is sales. And when I say sales, a lot of people think of salespeople, right? And obviously, salespeople, I mean, that would be the first thing that comes to mind. But the mistake is that a lot of people, I think the vast majority of people think that sales skills aren't really needed for what they do. I've heard this so many times, like, well, I'm not a sales, I'm not in sales. I'm a doctor or I'm an engineer, I'm a lawyer, I'm a whatever. I don't need sales. I don't do sales in my field, okay? In my line of work, I don't do sales. Sales is way more important than people think. It is such an important skill. It's such a critical skill, and it can often take you to the next level in whatever you do. But I think most surprisingly, sales is something that everybody needs to be good at, even in their daily, everyday lives. It's not just a career skill, it really is a life skill. You know, when I graduated college, I graduated with an engineering degree. I was an industrial engineer. I guess I still am. I don't work in that field anymore, but I'm an industrial engineer, and I absolutely loved my job, my engineering job. I mean, not my job, but loved. I loved the thing that I was able to do as an industrial engineer, I should say. Um, and the thing that really just, and still to this day, that I really enjoyed was when I was an engineer. It wasn't just sitting at a desk and looking at designs and analyzing numbers and analyzing spreadsheets and things like that. I hated that stuff, man. Just sitting there and just hours on end just looking at the computer. I cannot do it. Some people can. Their personalities, and I'm not ditching that. I'm just saying I couldn't do it. Um, I really had the opportunity of looking at entire processes of organizations and working with management, all the way from executives all the way down to the frontline workers, and helping them become more efficient, more productive, more effective, and to deliver higher quality goods and services, and really standardize the processes and improve the processes. That's what my job was. In essence, my job was really raising quality and productivity. This is what I specialized in, and I did this for many years, and I absolutely loved it. But I can tell you, even as an engineer, one of the most important skills that I had to have to be successful in my field was sales skills. Now, I just told you I graduated college with an engineering degree, but my first job right out of college was sales. This was not intentional, I'll be honest. This is not something that I planned on and I thought, since it's so important, I'm going to go into that. I didn't even know it was important. Back when I was 22 years old, I didn't know what it was. That was a job that I could get. I didn't do very well in school and college, so I was not very confident as a future engineer. So I sort of ran away and I went into sales and management. And but little did I know that the skills that I would learn in those 2 years would be some of the most important skills that I could learn in my life. Okay. There are certain critical skills that I've learned over the years in my career, in my life, that I consider absolutely critical. It takes you to the next level in anything you do. And sales skills is one of those things. And when I was in sales, there are steps in sales. Okay. So for example, the first step in sales is to build trust, is to build rapport, we called it, build rapport with the customer. And that is to build some kind of a bridge, some kind of a connection. Now, when we're writing, I'm in education now. So, when we write, when we read books and articles and essays, we often say that in the very beginning, the author uses a hook, to capture the audience's attention or to make a connection with the reader or to find common ground. Okay, these are some of the common things that writers do. And this is no different in personal relationships and in business relationships. The very first thing is not, I know a lot about my product, I know a lot about my service, and let me tell you all about it and why you need it and why you should buy it from me. It is about building trust. It is about building that connection. And this has to be sincere. I can't emphasize this enough. This is not a tactic. This is not something that, well, if I can trick people into thinking that they trust me or I trust them or I really like them, maybe they'll buy from me and I can make more money. That kind of fake rapport always shows through in a very short period of time. And you're not going to go very far with that kind of thing. All the things that I talk about, it has to come from the heart. It has to be real. People can tell if you're real or you're fake. Then you've got to be real. You've got to really love the customers. And I've seen this in so many successful business people who have never had sales training in their lives. And yet when they meet their customers, when they meet their their clients, they sincerely love those customers and love those clients, and just really love that relationship, really want to get to know them. And it's just a wonderful thing to see. And I learned this a long time ago. That's got to be sincere. Okay. So that's the first step, is to build rapport. And the second step is to sort of qualify them. Like what are they looking for today? Now, when I was in sales, when a customer walks in, and I was in a national electronics retailer, it's kind of like Best Buy. They're not around anymore in the States. They're the number one. I don't know if they still are, but they were the number one electronics retailer in Canada. I think they still are. I think it was called Future Shop, and it's kind of like Best Buy here in America. But man, did they have a great sales training program. And I don't know if there's anything like that today. But back in the 90s, it was awesome. And I think it was such a privilege for me to have gone through that. But they just taught me so much and in such depth. But the second step after building rapport with the customer is to qualify. Qualify means you got to really figure out what the customer or the client or that person really needs, or what they want, or what are they afraid of? What is their problem? What is the thing that they really are here for? And that has to be very, very clear. And it is your job as the salesperson to really find that out, to ask the right questions. You know, there are people who always ask the wrong questions. These questions that are just have nothing to do with anything. The successful salespeople, successful people who do this well, know how to ask the right questions of people. And this is so important. When I was a recruiter, the same skill was required. I had to ask interviewees, candidates, good questions. I had to ask questions that really helped me to see what kind of people they were, what kind of worker they might be, what kind of ethics they might have, what kind of work ethic they have, what kind of personality they have, what kind of history they have, and what kind of goals they have, if they're analytical, if they're positive, if they're a team player. I had to ask the right questions to see those kind of things. It's so important to ask the right questions. And isn't it the same thing in your life? Think about any relationship you have with your spouse, with your friends, with your kids, with your neighbors. It's important to ask the right questions of people. And it's important that you build a connection, a rapport, a trust. Because people when someone trusts someone, they're more likely to listen to them. They're more likely to hear them out. They're more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's very important to build trust in any kind of relationship. And this is why I say this is a life skill. It's not just a career skill. So after you qualify, a qualification is very important, right? So you build rapport, build trust, build qualification, and then you're presenting your product, or you are sharing your knowledge of something, okay? It is only after you build trust and rapport, it is only after you really understand the needs of the other person that you can provide solutions, okay? Now, I'm saying this in general terms because I want you to understand, and I want you to see that this is not just a career skill. This applies to whoever you are, right? So if you're a doctor, you don't, when a patient comes to see you, you don't just blabber off, start giving them all the knowledge you have. You first build rapport, you build trust. Isn't that the most important thing? As a patient, I know that when I know that my doctor cares for me, when I know that my doctor has my best interest at heart, when my doctor makes it an effort to get to know me and really know me as a person, that's very important to me. That's very, very important. And then they really try to understand what my needs are, what my pains are, what my issues are. And then they prescribe for me the right remedy, the right prescription, the right whatever the thing is. It is only after those two things that really, is something that I can accept readily, right? So it's the same in all of these kinds of relationships. It's very important that you prescribe, you teach, you coach, you advise only after getting those two things. So, but you do advise, you do make your presentation, if you will, and you share your knowledge, you share your experience, you share your heart, and then that becomes something that helps the other person. And then after that, in sales, you have sort of this closing period, if you will, where you ask for the sale. Do you want to buy the product? But before you do that, sometimes the customer can raise objections. When you are presenting something, when you are giving advice, when you are sharing your knowledge, it's very possible that the listener, the recipient has questions. The listener may challenge you, and that's okay, right? I mean, it's not a one-way street. You can have this discussion, and it's important that you have that discussion. It's important that you overcome those challenges if they need to be overcome, right? It's important that you explain, oh, you meant it that way. You're asking a question because you misinterpreted that. Actually, I meant it like this. And you get the misinterpretations cleared up. You get the fuzziness cleared up. You get the blurriness cleared up. And you make sure that you're both on the same page. And then after that, you can close the deal. And closing the deal is basically in sales. Do you want to buy the product? Yes, I want to pay money. I want to join, or I want to buy, or I want to, whatever it is, I want to sign up. But in real life, it's not a money transaction, right? In real life is, are we on the same page? Now, can we do this together? Now, can we proceed on this project? Can we go forward with this, right? We're on the same page. If you're a project manager, you have stakeholders. Are we all on the same page? And can we go forward with this? Do we agree with this plan? Does everybody agree with this? Does everybody buy into this? This is sort of the closing in real life. And it's the same thing in your family and in other relationships, right? In anything where a group of people, two or more people, are trying to proceed on something and go together, you got to make sure you're on the same page. And husbands and wives, I mean, or parents and kids, think about it. The arguments you have, the fights that you have, you're just not on the same page. You're not thinking the right way. You don't have the same assumptions. You don't have rapport. You don't trust each other. It goes very back to the beginning. You don't know what each other's needs are. You don't know what the other person's fears are. You don't understand what the other person's red buttons or green buttons are. We don't understand any of that, and you want to get straight to the, okay, so let's just do it this way. I don't understand why you don't agree with me, right? So this is a conflict that people have. And so you can see that the sales process is so important, not only in sales, but in everything we do in life. And I found there's almost nothing that I do on a daily basis in which it doesn't involve some sort of sales. Now, you can call it whatever you want. I call it sales because that it really follows that pattern, and it really follows those methods, those very important skills that I learned when I was younger. But you can call it what you want. But sales skills, as I described it, is a very, very important life skill. So if you don't understand this, just go back to the video and just kind of follow the steps and spend some time really understanding each of those steps. Building rapport is not just, hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, I'm doing fine. How you doing? I'll see you later. That's not rapport. Rapport is trust. Understand, it's not an acquaintance. It's a trust. Understanding the other's needs, qualification, it really requires a lot of very intelligent questions, sometimes personal questions that really get to it. Like when in what I do in my education business, whenever I take on a new student, there's a questionnaire that generally people fill out on my website. And it asks some questions because I want to know. And as we get closer to it, there's sometimes I ask more questions. In the first day of class, I ask a lot of questions because I really want to know my students. I really want to know where they're coming from. I really want to know what their goals are, what their fears are, what their disappointments were in the past, and what their family dynamics is like. I want to know what their personality is like. I want to know what kind of studies they've done in the past, if any. I want to know what they think their weakness is. I want to know what kind of hesitancies they have. I want to know what their learning style is. I want to know what kind of siblings they have, if they have any siblings. I want to know what kind of activities they're involved in. I want to know everything I can about them, because the more I know about them, the better I can help them. And so I really appreciate it when parents tell me, oh, my child has this or this learning ability, disability, or this weakness, or they had this traumatic experience at school, or they got bullied when they were in 8th grade, or it doesn't matter what it is, but I really like to learn as much as I can about my students, because I understand that the more I understand about the people I'm working with, the better I can help them, the more quickly trust is established, and the more quickly we can get on to making progress in whatever thing that we're doing. And in my case, SAT and college prep. So it really relates to everything. And I hope that you can see that. Thanks for staying with me up to this point in this video. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And until my next video, I hope you stay well.